Narrative Quest may contain content unsuitable for young audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Content warnings can be found in the show notes. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hello world, it is your if I can get it out. Hello world, it is your host of Narrative Quest, Anthony Diaz. Welcome to the show, Narrative Quest. This is a show about creativity, about writing, about music, about the process, and yeah. So very, very recently, we had a tragic event happened in our lives, and my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, had passed away, and it's been a very trying and very difficult time for all of us. And excuse my voice as well, like I have something in my chest or in my throat that is making my voice sound really good, so I'm just gonna roll with it. But we miss you very much, Pookie. Yeah, so my wife is still up there at her hometown, just squaring things away before she comes back, and eventually has to, make multiple trips up there. And yeah, it's difficult, but talking through it and being there for her is number one priority. But I wanted to, kind of vent and kind of get my mind off a couple of things, and I wanted to read a piece that I wrote a while back. So this is like this is episode 2 of Narrative Quest. The first episode I had my wife on, and we talked about the creative process. We talked about her art and things like that. But one of the things I wanted to do for the show also is I wanted to showcase, writing, and I wanted to present, write poetry and short stories, things like that. And so before my mother-in-law had passed away, we had planned on going to this date night thing at the local university here in Corpus Christi, Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, my alma mater. Go Islanders. I was kind of excited to go. I really wanted to go. There was a open mic night type thing. There was going to have featured artists and featured writers and poets, and they're going to present their stuff. But they're going to have a section or a time slot where people can go up on an open mic and read their stuff. And I was gonna read this. I was, kind of hesitant on which one I wanted to pick, but it just so happened that I wanted to do this one. This is, you can find this on my Vocal.Media page. Just search for Anthony Diaz, and you will find this. This is in my horror section. So let's just get on with it. This is called The Night Shift, A Letter Home, by me, Anthony Diaz. Dear Mom, this is my second week at the Texas State Aquarium night shift. The lights from the harbor bridge twinkle through the large windows and make a perfect backdrop to the dolphin stage. I can see the USS Lexington past the raptor exhibit. They are calm at the moment. The injured Cooper's hawk is healing well in her private space. My rounds tonight should be extra enjoyable. We have a new addition to our sea turtle family. Well, at least until she is ready to be released back in the wild. She was caught by a local fisherman and noticed something growing in her eye. At first, we all thought it may be fibrillopapillomatis, however you pronounce that. But it turns out it was just some abnormal skin growth. The veterinarian here said she would be just fine and should be back in the ocean real soon. Until then, she likes to swim around and she seems pretty interested in the other exhibit next door. I think if these greens could talk, they would have a story to tell. I really do love it here, although sometimes it can get a little scary being the only person here, like tonight. But it's not too bad. I sometimes hear noises coming from the other ends of the halls, but the fish tell me not to worry about it. The Goliath grouper is usually the one who calms me down when I get too scared. I just remembered what you told me before I left. Do you remember? I do. I started upstairs tonight. It's a full moon, so the glass ceiling allowed much of the moon's light to shine beautifully upon the top of the Caribbean Sea exhibit. If you ignored the cement, the glass, the railing, you can almost imagine perfectly that you are sailing in the ocean's emptiness. The small waves on top of the water dances with the natural moon's glow. It reminds me of that trip. Do you remember, Mother? I do. The flamingos and parrots have all been put away. I don't get to see them at night. Not yet, anyway. The bottom floor is my favorite. Tonight was an exceptional night. The green moray eel finally spoke to me tonight. Can you believe that? The sandbar shark was unusually quiet, though. He likes to tell me about the people he sees through his perspective. He says that people look weird. To him, we are all odd creatures that stare intently on a light box. He says that the sunken ship inside the tank reminds him of home. He is homesick, but enjoys being pampered and spoiled. The green moray eel doesn't like being stared at. She says some pretty horrible things. Although she isn't as lovely as the others, like the gray angelfish or hogfish, she still has plenty to say about us people. I couldn't disagree with much she had to say, but our conversation ran short when I heard a noise coming from the Islands of Steel exhibit. I felt a little vertigo walking through the main lobby. It quickly went away after I shook my head and regained my balance. I wish you could see the main lobby. Your eyes want to fixate on the large glass windows on the end of the hallway. It leads to the dolphin underwater viewing. I don't like to go there. All the dolphins want to do is play tricks on me. They like to joke and never take anything seriously. They are the ones that warned me about the skinny man in black. They keep saying that he follows me around and that he likes to hide from me and that it is he who is making all the noise at night. They tell him to hush and let me be. They tried to convince me to swim with them one night. One of them would slowly swim past me as I walked around their tank. Their movements are ever so graceful underwater. It would swim a few feet ahead of me and effortlessly somersault and swim back upside down. It looked like it cut through the water, leaving no ripples in its path. Like when I used to pretend I was a dolphin when I was a kid. Do you remember? I do. I kept hearing the noise coming from the other end of the main lobby. I saw it through one of the entrances to the Gulf of Mexico wing, and I swear I saw something. A mouth, perhaps? It looked like something was smiling at me in the darkness behind the purple lights from the jellyfish tank. I don't quite know if it was a mouth or not. It seemed too large for a normal-sized face. The grin appeared to extend well past the barriers of a normal face. I didn't see anything else. I called out to see if anybody was there. Only the animals responded. Isn't that funny? When I told them to stop talking, the mouth was gone. It was probably just all in my imagination. I do sometimes come up with some outrageous stories. The jellyfish are the nicest here. I like to stand and stare in their tank. They don't mind very much. They have a black light in their habitat that makes them really stand out. Their long tentacles wrap around in a ballet and almost never seem to touch one another as they bob their mushroom shaped cones in and out to stay afloat. They tell me that they wish the ocean was as lit as their tank. They keep telling me that I should let them swim with the others, but I have to remind them that I can't let them do that. They get sad and weep for a minute or two, but they return to a lovely state of tranquility once they see each other again under the blacklight. Something strange occurred at the coral reef exhibit. I heard that noise again, but it was slightly different. It did sound like high-pitched hum, but this time it seemed to be at a variant of frequencies. High, then low, then extremely high, then extremely low. It wasn't unpleasant. On the contrary, it reminded me of something we used to hear in the attic. Do you remember? I do. It wasn't until I reached the coral reef exhibit when I finally found the source of the humming. A skinny man in a black suit. Its mouth was agape and stuck in a permanent smile. It didn't look like he was breathing. His eyes were wide open. He tilted his head sharply from one side to the other side as I walked closer to him. He didn't blink. He simply eyed me. A queen angelfish swam to his eyes and grazed his pupils. He stood there underwater. I needed to see if he was okay. I asked him if he was. And wouldn't you know, he spoke in such eloquence and with manners that I might have found a new friend. You always told me to find the good in everybody I met. We talked for a minute, but I had to leave. I had to continue my rounds. He told me a secret, though. He said I cannot tell anyone. I had to inquire if I could at least tell my friends in the Caribbean Sea exhibit. He just smiled and laughed. It was humorous to watch him follow me with his eyes as I continued to walk around the Gulf of Mexico wing. I love you, Mom. I truly do enjoy it here. My night is almost over. I have to write a small report every night on what happens during my shift. I'm going to leave out meeting the skinny man in black. I have to finish this letter quickly, though. The skinny man in black is going to show me some new things in the Caribbean Sea exhibit. He also challenged me to see who can hold their breath longer in the tank. I know we're not supposed to go in there, but I'm not one to back down from a challenge. Remember that time I won a foot race against a neighbor's dog? I do. Wish me luck. Bye, Mom. So I wrote this for a contest. It was a no more than, I think, nothing, no more than 2,500 words. And the prompt was, I can't remember what the prompt was. But Vocal has these things. Vocal does these writing challenges, and they give you a prompt, and it's usually no more than 5,000 words, but some of them have like no more than 2,500. Some are like no more than 500 words. But this one was inspired by a recent trip about a year ago to the aquarium. And I was on a huge horror, trip. I wanted to explore horror as it was. Because I read a lot of things, and I've listened to a lot of YouTube videos and interviews about directors and writers who do both horror and comedy. And there's this fine line between both of them. There is this thing where all horror is just scary comedy. That you have a setup and you have a build up, and then the punchline. It is the hit. It is the scary monster. or the jump scare. I wanted to do a type of letter home for this. And before you ask, I didn't win. Excuse me. I haven't won a vocal challenge yet. But they're fun to do. They're very fun to do. I really do enjoy them. But the thing about it is, when I was thinking about doing this, I wanted to do this type of Lovecraftian thing where it's somebody who is experiencing a supernatural, events during his work shift, or whether it is just his imagination, and going through huge empty building like an aquarium, and then going through the exhibits and seeing all of the creatures of the night, and they're still lit up by the building lights, and there is this moment where you kind of believe that you are not really alone, because even though you are walking alone doing your rounds, there are the animals there. And like, what type of imagination, what type of things would happen if you were just by yourself as a security guard walking in the middle of the night during around an aquarium? And to me that's kind of frightening, because like, if you imagine an aquarium, there's this long, these long hallways. They have these kind of eerie sections where they want to light up the jellyfish, so there are black lights everywhere. There's sections where they have skulls and skeletons and life-size like hanging whales or things like that. And your imagination can go just wild while you're there by yourself. And I imagine it being it being this lonely and almost like in between heaven and hell, purgatory state, where there's just quiet and there's nothing, and you're just walking around. And personally, I think my imagination would just go completely bonkers, and I would be the one who pretends that the fish are talking to me, and then I would be the one who would imagine that there is this figure walking around next to me, the skinny man in black. I don't think that there is a portion in anybody's imagination that wouldn't go to the extreme horror if you were just there by yourself in an aquarium and just walking around in the middle of the night. Although I think my son would probably enjoy the hell out of that. He wouldn't. I don't think he will find that scary at all. But it's interesting to think what would happen if you are an adult there and just walking around in the middle of the night in an aquarium. So yeah, that was my story. You can find the story on Vocal.Media, and you can do a search for my name, Anthony Diaz, and you can find all of my stories, all my short stories that didn't win a vocal contest, but I do enjoy doing them. The thing about these vocal contests is like it does kind of keep you on your toes. If you do decide to do a vocal contest, they have an open date and an end date, and it usually stems like 15 days. Some of the big ones are 30 days, and those are the ones that are like no more than 5,000 words, and they're really in depth with a higher payout if you win. But most of them are like 15 days. So you have 15 days to create a story, to edit, to make it look fantastic the way you want it, and then submit it. I enjoy doing them. I think the most depressing, if there was something depressing about writing, is that like when you try to promote yourself through vocal or this could be true for any, platform for writers. It's really hard to gain some type of validation for being a writer. Mainly because as an artist, you can just show somebody your work and they can just love it all day. But trying to get somebody to sit down and read your stuff for about 5 minutes, that takes effort, and that takes commitment to do. But yeah, I love doing it, and it's fun. And yeah, so next one, I'll probably do a fantasy one next episode. But I just wanted to share some of my work. So yeah, this has been Narrative Quest. I am your host, Anthony Diaz. I am the writer, Anthony Diaz. And I will see y'all next time. Later, y'all. Thank you for listening to Narrative Quest, a show hosted by me, Anthony Diaz. You can follow me at Corporal Ziggy USMC on pretty much all of the socials. That's at CPLZIGGY USMC. You can email the show at narrativequestpodcast@gmail.com. Narrative Quest Podcast, all spelled out, at gmail.com. You can follow my writing at Vocal.Media and just search for my name, Anthony Diaz. Thank you again for listening to Narrative Quest, a show that asks, what's your story? Later, y'all. It would swim a few feet ahead of me and effortlessly. It would swim a few feet ahead of me and effortlessly.